Oh, that's a good one. Not having a huge reach of a capable network, also building the confidence to engage such people in my network. Well, hopefully our two speakers will give us some advice on how to deal with some of these challenges. I struggle with sustainability as well. It's like you meet someone, get their contact, and then you don't know what to do with it because you don't want to harass them, constantly asking them for help. So it's about striking that right balance, identifying advocates and I can't see, and getting their help. Okay. Can we have some more responses? I can see 22 participants and only 3 responses. The more you engage, the more fun the session is. And it's, as you can see, it's completely anonymous. So please don't feel shy. Please let us know what challenges you faced while building your network. And you will have the opportunity later on to ask the speakers questions. Thank you. Meeting like minds at higher levels that are willing to help. Yeah. I think one thing I always tell myself is even if someone's like a CEO of a company, or no matter how senior they are, they're just human like you. So sometimes you kind of have to break that barrier that you create in your mind of, oh, they're much more senior than me, I can't talk to them. Can we have 2 more responses, please, at the very least, please? Come on, everyone, I'm waiting. Please, can we have 2 more responses? They're very interesting. No? Okay, Zainab, I think we have a shy audience today. So, oh, thank you, whoever that was. Meeting like minds. Okay. Okay, cool. Thanks, Zainab. Do you think we should stop now, or do you want to keep it going for a while? You can let me know in the chat box if you don't want to unmute yourself. Okay, I think we should just end it then. Cool. Thank you very much for that, everyone who participated. So I'm going to introduce our speakers now. If I can ask you both to kindly show yourself on camera. So I'll start off with Sister Nora. So Sister Nora has a 10-year career in Shell, Nigeria, spanning roles in onshore, shallow water and deep water organizations. She is currently a safety and environment specialist in Shell Nigeria Deep Water Project with a core background in deep water production geology. She has an MSCI, which is a combined BSc and MSc degree in environmental geoscience from Imperial College London. She's a member of the Royal School of Mines in England and holds professional memberships with the Society of Petroleum Engineers, Nigerian Association of Petroleum Explorationists, and the American Association of Petroleum Geologists. She is the vice president of the Women's Network in Shell Nigeria. She is passionate about giving back and people development and believes that every woman should be empowered to choose. Outside of work, she immerses herself in charity projects and her family and is blessed with 2 active children, mashallah. She loves to travel and engage in culinary activities, mashallah. Thank you very much for joining us today, Sister Nora. Our next speaker is Mr. Idris Yakubu. He was until recently the managing director, chief executive of the Nigerian Aviation Handling Company after a 30-year stint in the Nigerian banking and financial services industry, becoming an executive director at Polaris Bank. He holds an AMPC from the Lagos Business School, 2 master's degrees and an accounting degree, mashallah. Mr. Yakubu is well-traveled with an extensive network. He has good relationship management skills and is customer-centric with corporate governance, business strategy, and boardroom experience. He is a fellow and member of several professional organizations, including the NIM Chartered, CIBN, IOD Nigeria, Institute of Credit Administration, the Financial Reporting Council, ISEC, alumni, MICA, mashallah, Ikoyi Club, 1938, amongst others. Mr. Yakubu has trained and mentored many over the years. He is interested in people development, community service, charity and welfare issues, and has helped to build and renovate several social and economic infrastructures across the country, easing the impact on benefiting and vulnerable groups in the population. Mashallah. Thank you so much to both of you for joining us today. From reading your profiles, I know that we'll be getting some real gems about how to network and leverage from our networks. So I will start off with the first question, and we'll start with Sister Nora. So my first question to you is, what do you understand by the term your network, and what is the importance of building one? In your response, could you please share examples of a time when your network has benefited you? You're on mute.
Assalamualaikum. Zainab, check your chat.
Oh, okay.
Okay. All right. The host has allowed me to unmute now.
Oh,
so the host has
sorry
been controlling things. Okay. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. It is an honor to join everyone here on this lovely platform. I've grown up, as probably a MICA, started maybe as a MICA baby. So wallah, it's a real honor to stay here today and, be able to share something. So please permit me. My experience is not as rich as my co-panelist, but I will give, my perspective as I have enjoyed it. Really, I can only speak, from my own experience. So let me start. Bismillah. Okay, so the question was asked saying, what do I understand by the term my network? I feel tempted to go cliche and say, your network, your net worth. But the truth is that it is true, right? Your network, for me, I view my network as an arsenal of opportunity, right? It is an arsenal. I call it an arsenal because these are like bombs and this is ammunition that you have that is ready to be set off, right? For your own purpose, if you let it, if you allow it, if you trigger it. So for me, it's a live space, right? It breeds, it requires feeding, and it produces output. But I won't speak into in too mystical a way, right? But really what it is it is a collection of people, right? That right? I'll speak for myself. It's a collection of people that I know, right? With our various shared interests, right? So understand that you yourself as a human being is an intersectional human being. So first of all, for example, I'm a woman, and so I belong to a woman's network. I'm a Muslim, so I belong to a Muslim network. I love charitable activities, so I belong to a charitable network. I'm a petroleum engineer, so I belong to professional networks, that put me in that space. But basically, it is that collection of people that are around you with various shared interests, right? Depending on what intersection you find those people, that you can leverage, right? To boost opportunities for future business or employment, or even for your quality of life or your team, whatever it is, right, that you want to take away from it. It is that group of people that are immediately around you that you can call on, right, to boost opportunities for yourself. So your network, for me, I see it as my power and my pulse, right? The people that are cheering me on and are linking me to opportunities. So they're made up of family members, old schoolmates, former colleagues, family friends, LinkedIn connections, mentors, Twitter buddies, your contacts from work functions or conferences, and people that you meet, just all over the place. Honestly, for me, my network is made up of every person in every sphere of life. If you see my contact book, people said to me once that they would steal my phone just so that they could get my list of contacts, because honestly, it is my power. It is really my superpower, and I'm really proud of it. So for me, to be honest, I really was born into a mega network. For those that know me, I come from a large family. I have 9 siblings. my parents are professionals. My parents are professionals in their respective spaces as well. So really, I grew into a family that gave me, first of all, an immediate network. So I can say that really I benefited, and I really was born into that space. But let me give you an example of how my network has directly benefited where I am, presently today. My shell job, believe it or not, my shell job, I got it through my network, right? So at university, I was opportune to, or curate, I'm not going to call, the act of networking opportunity at all. I'm going to say that it is an active and conscious effort to curate the people that are immediately around you. It is a space that you create. So whereas with family and all other activities or some other activities, you really don't get the choice. Nobody asks you, well, what do you think about having this person as a brother, right? This is, that is chosen for you, but your network is actually the family that you choose for yourself. So at university, my clique of friends were a group of like-minded, very driven and hardworking. I'm not joking. It sounds cliche, but it's true. In my case, it is true, right? So we understood the value of our education. We were all Nigerians, and we understood that it took sacrifice, right, to get us to where we were. And we were really cognizant of it every single day. In fact, we went as minuscule as actually calculating how much one class, right, was worth, right, in pounds, right? How much were our parents paying per class that we were in university? Because every time we missed a class, then we say, oh my gosh, our parents just lost so many pounds, right? Because we really wanted to tell ourselves, right, and demonstrate to ourselves the importance of what we were doing. So anyways, we were all studying different things, right? So there was a lady was in Triple E, another person was in computing, another person was in chemical engineering. Triple E is electrical and electronic engineering. Another person was in chemical engineering, and I was in environmental geoscience. Now, the beauty of that network is that we were exposed to the many different elements of all the different spaces. So the person in computing had access to all the computing opportunities and vice versa. Right? So we were bonding. We bonded over many different things. But like I said, our strongest bond was really identifying opportunities for ourselves. Now, when it was time to leave uni, right, we all signed up to career notifications, every single chance we got. We were working for each other, right, while working for ourselves. Now, imagine the power, right, of 4 focused individuals driven by the same hunger, and we're all rooting for each other. So one day I got an email from my friend, and she said to me that she received a career notification from the careers office, right, at school. I didn't receive it, or I had brushed past it, but somehow I didn't see it. And she said to me, there's a position in Shell, Nigeria. I was still in England at the time. And so that position was specifically for Nigeria. And it was open to me because out of all of those friends, I was one that decided that I wanted to stay really rooted and grounded, right, to my roots. And I wanted to come back home. I was home every single summer. So anyway, I'll finish it up. But basically what happened was I got this opportunity and I took it on, right? There was, of course, a lot of work involved. There was lots of applications to write. There was a CV to perfect. There was cover letters. There was interviews to prepare for. But at the end of the day, I leveraged that same network, right, that found me the opportunity. And somehow that dream became a reality, right? Over the course of like a year, doing, back-to-back interviews and whatnot. But I'm sitting here today as a staff of Shell because I was able to leverage my personal network properly, right? So that's one example. I hope that as we go on, I can expatiate some more and I can share some of my personal experiences. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that, Sister Nora. And I just want to add for you and Mr. Yakubu both, if you feel that the question is not letting you say something that you want to say, please feel free to do so. Like the whole point of this is for us to learn as much as we can from you. Thank you so much for that. Before Mr. Yakubu speaks, Zainab, can you make Sister Nora and Mr. Yakubu, can you make them both hosts so that they can control their mic and turn their cameras on and off at their own convenience? Thank you. Mr. Yakubu, over to you.
Okay, Assalamu alaikum, brothers and sisters. It's a very big pleasure to join the session this morning. First, I want to thank Micah for the opportunity, to speak to fellow brothers and sisters on this subject. I've been a member of Micah for like 25 years plus, and I've seen us evolve every day. I see these sessions, these training sessions that we do, as further adding value to lives. So I want to thank the organizers for this, and I want to say I'm pleased to be part of this. Coming to the issue, the subject of discussion today, networking. It's an interesting area. I want to go a little academic to say what is a network. A network is like a group or a system of interconnected people. Let me put it that way. A group of interconnected people. When I say interconnected, you have linkages, you link up with virtually everybody. Your network is just like has been described earlier. Your family, your friends, your schoolmates, everybody that you have had a course, to interact with or to meet is a member of a network. So networking, you say, is the art of, like making contacts or exchanging information, reaching out to people, to achieve and to develop mutually beneficial relationship. And that is what I want to add in addition to, all the descriptions of network that has been made so far. It has to be for mutually beneficial reasons. You assume or you take somebody as a member of your network, depending on what you perceive or what you expect, to get or to benefit from that relationship. And it is also one that you have to share. What I mean by sharing is, if you're in a network or if you're in a group or if you're in a relationship with certain people, it has to be a give and take. So, for me, these are the basic things that you refer to as what your networks are. There are several networking groups that we all belong to. Like I mentioned earlier, apart from family, your schoolmates, your estate association, for instance. And if you live in an estate, the people that you interact with, on a daily basis, your colleagues, those that you have left school with many years back, your family groups, like a lot of us who, even though, yes, we live in either Lagos or Abuja, Kaduna, you still identify with your roots. Those family organizations, depending on whatever you call them, these are all part of your network. So I think these are what I'll say are my networks as a person. In terms of what I have benefited, I would say life generally is like one, you benefit from your relationships with your networks every day. Employment, it could be something as simple as, just even going to the airport and checking into a plane. If you have a fantastic network, you don't know how that can be of real benefit to you. And I'm going to give a few examples just to elucidate, how I have benefited, from my network. I was on training so many years back, I think 2008 in Obudu, and I met a couple of gentlemen. It was a senior mid-level then. I was like senior level, not executive role in the bank I was working. And we met about 20, 30 of us. And there were one or two that I belonged to in the same group. Draw forward some 10, 15 years down, 2015, and I called one of them who I had maintained relationships with over time. I just want to come and say hello to you. January 2015. Oh, Idris, how are you? I say, I'm fine. That's the MD of Polaris Bank, this then Sky Bank. Oh, what are you doing now? Oh, where are you? I'm just long and short, 3 months down the road, I was an executive director in Polaris Bank. That was benefiting from a network, a relationship that I had established, so many years back. That is one very good example. I'll give you another example. After leaving banking, for instance, I went into aviation. Before that, because of my roles where I had worked, I had done a lot of travels. So I was virtually around the airport environment nearly every week. So a lot of people know me. So when I got the job in NACO as MD CEO, a lot of them, oh, you're the new MD of NACO. That helped. Even after I left NACO, if you know the value of that network, to me, for instance, come to fly, the check-in luggage entitlement is 20 kg, and I have a 30 kg entitlement. Oh, Mr. Idris, who is you? And they allow you to go 10 kg. If you calculate the value of 10 kg times 2 times 3 times 4, because most times they charge 500-600 naira, that is some savings that you have achieved. A few times you want to fly, and you reach out to members of your network in the aviation community. If Zainab, you, for instance, are getting a ticket at maybe $1 million, I could probably get a ticket at maybe 800,000 or whatever, based on my network. And I've done that a few times. So these are some benefits that one has achieved and derived from such, your network. And I want to give one example that has been very public recently. His Royal Highness Sanusi Lamido, Sanusi is a member of the King's College Old Boys Association. I think there's a story that went around about how it was, his relationship with the members of his alumni, the King's College Old Boys, that assisted to fetch him the job of the governor of Central Bank through His Excellency, Governor Saraki, So a lot of examples abound on how you have benefited or how people have benefited from network. So basically, your network is all those interconnections that you have around you, people that you have related with or that you relate with on a daily basis. Church, it could be the mosque. For us in Micah, for instance, it could be your school, it could be your old school, it could even be your children's, parents, teachers association meeting that you go frequently and all of that. So these are all examples of network. And obviously, if you relate well, if you network properly, you are going to derive benefits. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for that. So my next question is, how do you approach building a network? Do you have any do's and don'ts for connecting with people? And I think this question is really important because one thing that Sister Nora said was, she openly said that, she came from a very big family, which automatically expanded her network, and the fact that her parents were professionals, but that's not the reality for most people. So I would really like you both to give as much advice as you can on this. Like, how do people build a network? So any do's and don'ts. So we'll start with you, Sister Nora. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Indeed, yes, I really do recognize that, we all come from many different backgrounds. But networking is something that you can actually build. So for anybody that is on this call, do not let your background or what you think is maybe your educational achievements or whatever it may be to stop you from believing that, your network, or the networking opportunities are not as open to you as they are to others. So let me start with saying something. I'll speak honestly once again from my own personal experience. My first rule, honestly, the most fundamental thing to building a network is starting with authenticity, right? If you are not your authentic self, or you do not know who you are authentically as a human being, then you honestly will not have a place to stand in any network, right? So because your network is you trying to build, shared interests with people, with a network, or you are trying to enter into a space that is already existing, for example, into a professional organization or some sort of committee somewhere, right? You're trying to enter into that space. How do you do it, right, if you are not your true authentic self? So, for example, I cannot go and say I want to join the National Association of Arbitrators, for example. I'm not in any way an arbitrator, right? I'm not going to because I want, or I know somebody that is going to be seated in that space, right? I'm not going to say that I have to force myself into that space. As my co-panelists had said, Ms. Idris made it clear that honestly, it really starts from your authentic self, right? So ask yourself, first of all, who am I, right? And what are the priorities, right, that I put on myself? First of all, does being Muslim, right, is that a priority for me? If it is, you'll find that you naturally find yourself in opportunities and in spaces, right, where you can start to contribute towards that side of yourself that you are most passionate about. So if you're passionate about your Islam, you're passionate about giving back, you're passionate about dawah, you'll find that every opportunity that you get, right, you're sitting in a space with dawah, right, and you do not say no to dawah activities. You're more likely to sacrifice in the name of dawah activities. You're more likely to, give your best self, right, in the name of dawah activities. So the most fundamental thing, first of all, is to be, honestly, do some sort of, if you want to document it even, right? But honestly, be very aware of who you are, right? And who you want to become, right? So it's one thing for you to be seated in one position right now, but look at yourself and say, who do I want to become, right? If I want to pray to become a Dangote tomorrow, right, then I know that I better be business-minded and I better be sitting in all these investment rooms, right? And I better be surrounding myself. So the most important thing is identify, the things that make you up, your authentic and true self. What are your own interests, right? And what is it that you want to become? My second rule, and just as the co-panelist said so excellently well in his first pitch as well, is that you should definitely have something to offer, right? Networking is a mutually beneficial endeavor. And the secret to my powerful networking is that I join networks from a place of service, right? I do not join a network just because I want to be among, right? I do not see somebody across the road and say, oh, hi, my name is, or salam, I just want to know you because I want to network. No, it really takes away, the authentic, part of it. Really, I join from a place of service. So no matter how hard you try, if you do not have something to offer or have not joined a network from a place of strength or service, you will only be a statistic in that space. You will only be a member of the network or something of that nature, right? So for me, I never created my networks because I was just trying to be a member of an organization, right? I always came in from a place of service, and I was never shy, right, of a challenge. So another thing about me is that, so on top of, I think one of the added advantages of coming from the type of family I came from is the fact that I grew up really confident, right? Because I saw my parents face challenges every day, and they never took them from a place of, oh, we can't overcome or we can't do it. It was always a place of how can we find solutions? So you have to be confident in your own abilities. And honestly, I always say to people that in the same way that we used to cry from exams, let me tell you one advice I used to give my friends with exams. The only thing that will allay your fears about exams is actually studying. Right? So get to studying. So the only thing that will ever make you confident as a human being is to actually work on yourself, right? Is to actually be confident about the person that you are creating. Understand that you yourself, you are a journey, or, as they say, a work in progress. But you need to understand that coming from a place of strength is a very, very important thing for you to do when you want to engage in a networking opportunity. So what it means then, and coming from a place of service and having what we call in my organization, a learner mindset, what that means to you is that anybody, right, can network, because anybody can offer service. Anybody, I bet you, anybody, students can offer service, anybody can do that. So you need to just understand, right, that coming from a particular position and wanting to give back. So as it is said in Islam, that, better the giver, and it's also a popular saying, right, that it's better to be the hand that is giving than the one that is receiving. Focus on how you can build yourself to become a giver, right? So of course, we all operate within the confines of availability and capability and all that. But honestly, be sincere, like I've said earlier. Within the waste management team of a conference is greatness. I'm not joking. You will find people that will help you in ways that you never thought, right? You will have to put in the work and the sacrifice. That is without saying, right? You will need to put in the work to be able to demonstrate that you will really be a person of value. So don't shy away from work. Don't shy away from sacrificing. I myself, being a lady, we come predisposed with, natural, oh my gosh, I have kids, I have a young family, I need to focus. But the truth is, after understanding where your limitations are, be ready to be flexible. I've taken my children to conferences, like I've had them upstairs in a room somewhere, and, I dash upstairs to say Salah, I, give them a few kisses and I run back down. And nobody knows, right, that all of that is happening in the background. Don't try and network too fast, right? Don't try and do it too fast. Don't try and be too brazen and open about it in a way that becomes almost embarrassing and, just unpalatable for the other person that is receiving it. So be authentic, work on yourself, work from a position of wanting to give more than, wanting to receive. Be deliberate and strategic. Honestly, as much as I've said be authentic and whatnot, the truth is, like I said, you have to keep in mind who you want to be and where you want to go to, right? To really understand which networks you need to, because we've said it, that your networks are huge, they're limitless, they're endless. But the truth is, before you start to understand those networks that you want to leverage, you need to understand where you want to go to. Right. So, for example, now, if I choose now that I no longer want to work in the corporate world, right, and I'm starting to veer off into what might be government or politics, then I understand that it is my friends that already have, their feet in the room, right, that I want to leverage to be able to do that. So be clear about your short-term, your midterm goals, because that will really help you focus your networking efforts. Right. For me, honestly, my examples are limitless, but I'll try and keep it short, because I know that I'm also as keen to hear from my co-panelist as the audience is, because mashallah, indeed. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that, Sis Nora. I like the robustness of your answers, please. Thank you. Keep it up, please. Thank you. Mr. Yakubu, go ahead, please.
Okay, I think for me, building your network depends on the kind of networks that you have in mind. There are some that automatically you can join, or you are forced to join depending on what you are, what you do, and all that. And then there are some that you probably are the one, to initiate, to try to build. Let me give examples. If you are working, for instance, your network would be those who work around you, or everybody that has worked in that particular organization. If you stay in an estate, for instance, I'm giving an example of an estate again. It depends again. Immediately you come in there, you're a member of that community. So they're part of your network. You have to relate well if you have to enjoy staying in that particular place. And then if it is the one that you are initiating, or you are the one to set up, then the rules or the way you go about it are also different, because you are the one now creating that group deliberately because of certain objectives. So all of this, your approach to building the network depends on which. Let me start with the example of the one that you are forced, in quotes, to join. It is a group, either your alumni class, your religious organization, your estate. You should just be ready that some building blocks. One, you should be ready to share. You should be ready to give, like has been mentioned by Nora. You should be flexible. You should be ready, to listen to the other persons around. That is the only way you can enjoy that, your stay in that network. You shouldn't see yourself as one who necessarily has to force your way. Even if you think your ideas are probably the best and all that, you shouldn't, insist on forcing, the members of that group or that network, to listen to you or to identify with your perspectives. So you should be a good listener. These are building blocks. If you have all of this, it helps you, to relate well, or to become a member of that group, more easily. If it is the one that you are setting up, technology has made things a lot easier now. At times you just stay and you look at your phone, you are creating a group of perceived like minds, and then you just put everybody in there automatically. You just add them all, create a WhatsApp group, and you add everybody. These are your networks, and you have created a networking opportunity, for those around there. But what you have to have at the back of your mind is that you have to be deliberate about it. You have to plan. You really have to plan. You say, what is planning? Planning, and because you have to think, who are those that are going to be members of this network? Who are those that are members of this community? Are they members, or are they group members that I would like to identify with, or I would like to relate with, and all of that? You should be ready with conversation points. You don't create a group, for instance, of persons that you think are like-minded, and then you don't throw up issues that will engage everybody in that group. Let's say, for instance, you are creating a group of those who like to travel. So you should be able to think, for instance, what are the areas of travel issues that you want to throw up. So you should have those conversations and then throw them up once in a while, so that those members of that group will relate to it and they can identify it, and then that can continue to engage. That solves the issue of sustainability, that a member had mentioned initially, in the challenges. So if there are conversation points, there are issues to engage with, it helps. And then you should be able to follow up and reach out and all of that. So I think this helps you, to really, build your network, to relate very well with people and all of that. And then, of course, it's of choice. You can come in. One is free to either join that particular group of that network. You can also know that somebody can also get out easily. There's nothing that stops anybody from joining or getting out, in quotes. But you should try, if you're the one initiating and all of that, you should try to, as much as possible, engage those who are there so that they can continue to be members of that group that you are. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Yakubu. You actually touched on the next question, so maybe I'll let you continue from where you left off. So the next question is, having to connect with several people can become overwhelming. In what ways do you maintain or sustain or nurture your network? How do you balance that with forming new connections? So if there's anything you would like to add, yeah.
Okay, yeah. It's when you are in already, I think it makes it a bit easier, but sustaining or maintaining or nurturing a network, takes a lot. It takes deliberate efforts. In the last 2 days, for instance, while reflecting, over this subject, I've had to remember that there are a few persons that I haven't spoken to in a while. So I just pick my phone and I either call or I just send a text, oh, hi. And you could see that they are very happy, they're happy that you're able to reach out to them. You can't say, tomorrow, next week, I might have a need, for something from that particular network. So a very key issue is that you have to reconnect, with people in your network periodically. A lot of us do this either during festivities, either Eid times, New Year, and all of that. But you have to find a way to deliberately reach out. Some do them during birthdays. Secondly, you have to be ready to give back, to share, like has been mentioned. It is important. That is one major way of sustaining or maintaining a network. Let it not just be you taking all the times. I've given you an example, for instance, of when I go around the airport environment and benefits. I also have my ways of giving back. You mentor some of these people. They can call you for advice. They can call you for identification in one way or the other. They have events. They invite you. Try to go. If you go, that helps to nurture or to foster that kind of relationship as well. Today, the social media, like I mentioned earlier, has helped. It helps a lot. So based on your phone or your, using your WhatsApp, your LinkedIn platforms, your Facebook, you can maintain that very, very, very easy. So it's a lot easier now than previously. So these are the key words: reconnect, maintain, be ready to give, be ready to cultivate. If you don't cultivate your network, you don't just wake up because you have a need today, for something, and then you remember that, oh, Mariam is somebody I've known 10 years ago, she was my classmate, and then go back to her. You will not get the kind of results that you expect, like someone who was exchanging, sending greetings periodically. Even if you don't get an answer, still continue. And then once in a while, just pick a phone, and connect. So I think these are the key words. You have to maintain, you have to reach out to them, you have to relate with them, you have to identify with them, even when you don't have any need for them. And then you must be able to give value. Today, you are more ready to listen to identify people who add some value anyhow, to your lives. But if you are someone who is just coming every day and asking, at the point, those networks will probably get scared of you, and they will not, when they see calls coming from you, so this man has come again, or this lady has come. So you have to find a way, a nice way to also, to give back, whatever it is. Don't think that everything is material. At times it could be advice, at times it could be company, at times it could be availability, at times it could be other forms of soft support. All those ways, even if you don't think you have money or resources, you can be of value. There are some friends I have. Major thing I enjoy from them is company. If I want to relate to them, I just speak to them, and then you enjoy that. It's not material, it's nothing like that. So I think these are ways that, in my own little way, that I have tried to maintain or nurture relationships.
Thank you very much for the practical advice. Sister Nora.
Okay, wow, mashallah. Like I say, I'm really enjoying hearing from my co-panelists, but it's a real problem, right? Because I can't imagine, if I'm talking 10 years into, my corporate life, what he is talking, 20, 30 years into his, in terms of his contact, in terms of his address book, I can't imagine what it looks like, right? But the truth is, the first thing, like I say, is really when you stay authentic, right, and sincere, right? So you're first of all staying authentic to yourself, and you're self-aware. So you know who you are and where you are on your journey, right? So that's the first thing you've identified. So for example, you guys will see, and hopefully as we continue to talk about this, you'll hear about how you can outgrow a network, right? Because you've outgrown your nursery school network, for example. You've outgrown the primary school one as well. So when I say outgrown, it means that it is no longer as relevant to you as some other network is, right? So it does not mean that it still does not have value. It just means that some other thing will be more important than the other. And I think in understanding that aspect of who you are and the fact that you are on a journey of growth will help you to do what? To prioritize. Because the truth is, without prioritizing, you will have some people literally, I look at them and I'm like, all you get to do is social stuff, right? Because at the end of the day, right, you'll spend so much energy, right, trying to run around all those many networks that it really is is of no value to you, and then you lose yourself, right, in that space. But the most important thing is that you first have to understand who you are and prioritize. So put your contacts, if you want, in different categories, right? So I know people that I call when I'm having issues, like I'm looking for advice, about the dean, for example, right? I have that category of people that are readily available. It can be, there are people even within that dean space, right? If I want to set up a new Islamic organization, I know the people within my contact list that I should be speaking with. It's not everybody, right? Another thing is I talk about sincerity, right, and showing care. So beyond thinking about networks in a professional way, or just, it's something that is working for me, right, come from a place of real, authentic care, right? So I'm really concerned because, look, I just like my co-panelist said, you remember that, I had this friend from way back. If you see these people, these acquaintances, right, as friends and, people that are truly dear to your heart, then it makes it more natural, when you are thinking about them or remembering them or wanting to keep in touch with them. So just making it feel like a brotherhood, that's why for me, subhanallah, my best, networks are really the ones that are, dean related, because honestly, you have that real genuine desire to say, look, I miss you. I'm looking for you. How are you doing? Are you keeping well? And you find that honestly, it's a natural thing for you, right? So sincere and showing care, right, is a way that you being sincere and showing care is a way that you keep up, your network, but it's natural, it's in the background for you. You don't even think about it as a conscious activity. Another thing that I would say, and my co-panelists also touched on it, is use all the available opportunities that are, sitting in front of you. Right now, guys, it's Sunday, I'm sitting in my house and I'm able to network with how many people are on the call today, right? Because I've been able to use social media, right? So do not shy away from using the different tools. My father is 80 years old and he's on Zoom meetings like back to back, My mom, yesterday, I was leaving their house and she said, I'm going into a meeting. I said, it's 8 o'clock, it's 8 p.m. and you guys are still doing meetings. And that's the truth, right? So don't forget to use the power of what is available to you. Social media is really, really, don't rely on it too heavily because it's also a dangerous tool, right? Somebody asked in the chat, what are the dangers? I would like that person to elaborate on the question a bit more. But the truth is that don't over-rely on social media because sometimes it gives you a false perspective of how important you are or what your network looks like. So people think that, I have 5,000, connections on LinkedIn. I must be like a master networker, like I'm important in my industry. It's not true. It's not true. It's all, smoke and clouds, But honestly, use social media, use WhatsApp, use LinkedIn, use Twitter. People have made connect. One of my friends, believe it or not, got a job with the governor of Kaduna, with Nasser El-Rufai today from Twitter. Right? They started from Twitter. So use those connections, follow the people that you are interested in those spaces, repost content, right? That you see people share, use retweet blogs, articles, anything that you think that, you can show support to a friend or a member or someone in your network. Use those tools, use the tools that are available to you. Offer to help. My co-panelist said that, and focus on forming sincere and mutually beneficial networks. And I won't lie to you, if you can do that, those networks last lifetimes, right? So you will not have to worry about, oh gosh, I haven't kept in touch with this person for the past 10 years. If they know that, Nura didn't just come to me because they had a need and they just wanted me to help them speak to this person that could help her with this, then it's different, right? It's a thing of, Nura, my dear friend, I haven't spoken to you in 10 years. And I, truly and dearly miss you. And I hope that you are well. And I know that time has made it such that, we're not as available to each other as we normally would have loved to, but, how are you doing right now today, right? That's the benefit of an authentic and sincere network, right? Focus on building those. They might not cash out, in the immediate term, but they will definitely, pay off in the long term. So I'll keep it there.
Thank you very much, Sister Nora. Thank you. Yeah. So next question, we can choose who we have in our network, which may or may not include co-workers. Kindly share some practical tips for maintaining communication with disagreeable co-workers. Sister Nora, you can continue from where you left off. Yeah.
Okay, so now, honestly, you see, authenticity is really a fulcrum of my life.
Yeah.
But the first thing is, do not overwhelm yourself, right? Trying to be loved by everyone. Be authentic, right? When you're happy in the person that you are, of course, I mean, like I say, everyone's growing, right? Understand that you are a growing person as well. And I'll come to that in a bit more detail in answering this. But the first thing that you should do is do not overwhelm yourself. Do not burden yourself with, this person doesn't like me. Not everybody will like, not even every family member will think you're the favorite, the most favorite person to them. But the first thing that you must understand is, first, do not overwhelm yourself. The second thing is, honestly, I think for me as a Muslim, I've grown to be extremely comfortable with the fact that my principles sometimes differ from those of the people around me, right? I have no problem with that. And so the first thing I would do, right, is to say Bismillah, right? When you find out that somebody doesn't like you or that, you're having issues, put in your dua, right? This is always the first way to do it as a Muslim. Say Bismillah, put in your dua, but let's get practical. Let's get practical. The first thing is, honestly, I would say, approach such an individual, right? Be very direct in approaching them, but be prepared. And my preparation is saying that use the right speech, right? Make sure that whatever preparation or whatever it is that you're presenting to them is a conscious and well thought out approach, right? So instead of saying things like, you do this to me, say, I feel this way when you do this to me, right? So using the right language is a way that you put your best foot forward. Another thing I would say is seek to understand, the other person's perspective. And that can happen through that conversation that you've kicked off, right, with them. Look for real examples, right? So don't say things like, I just feel like you don't like me, or, you're just disagreeable. Look for real examples of things that they might have done or that they said, right, that they rubbed you off in a certain way. Now, if that does not work, guess what you should do again? Leverage your network to get help, right? That's one thing that I will, honestly, I can't say enough. I had a real issue when I first joined Shell with a senior manager, and she wanted me to pray, right, with her entire team. You can guess that her prayer was not a Muslim prayer. And she was my first, literally, this happened in my first week in the corporate world. I was fresh out of uni. I felt very empowered and energized, and boom, like it was a slap in my face. This person just, for some reason, didn't like me. I came, with my hair covered, very obviously Muslim. And she said, we don't have Muslims in my team. And, yes, here in my team, we do everything together. We pray together. And, I said to her, I pray in my house before I come to the office, and I'm praying for the office as well, by the way. But she said, no. We pray together. And so I went straight into my network. So of course there were senior colleagues, people that had more experience in the system, and they were Muslims, right? So we had connected on the fact that I was Muslim. I had gone to the prayer room. I had known a few senior Muslim colleagues in the system, and I had this problem, right? And I went to them, and one person had an opinion. I said to me, I know this person, I know that lady. I'm going to go and meet her. I'm going to have a word with her. But guess what? I stopped him in his tracks. I said, no, it won't work for me, because this woman is 20 years smarter than I am, right? She's been in the system much longer than I've been. And, yes, it's nice to be bold and brazen and whatnot, but I'm not going to approach it in that way. At the end of the day, alhamdulillah, so what happened was I spoke with people who decided that we should take an underground approach, right? That said, you know what, let's tackle this in a different way. And one person was Muslim, the other was non-Muslim. So it really was not just about the fact that, this is people that I connected with, on the religion line. There were people that just saw this to be a real problem, and they knew that the best way to solve it was to tackle it in an underground way. So I got taken out of her department. That was the only way that they could solve that problem at the immediate instance. But she eventually left the system, right? She eventually left. That had nothing to do with me. But the most important thing was I solved that problem, right? And I didn't do it in a brash, I did not think about it right before doing it. So in some cases, you will have to be creative about finding solutions to working with these people or working around these people. In some cases, you will have to go and understand your company policies. Believe it or not, I've threatened a colleague, and he's a friend, right? that kept saying something about me. And I said to him, I think it's time to take this thing to HR, right? And it stopped him in his tracks, right? So understanding your company policies is also really important, right? For some companies, you have anonymous helplines, leverage those if you have those. Some people say things like, oh, bring them closer, have coffee with them, offer them help, give these people snacks. Sometimes it works, right? Sometimes not so much. But there are many different ways, right, that you can tackle people that you find to be disagreeable. But the most important thing for me, honestly, if you find somebody becoming too toxic, just stay out of their way, right? As soon as you understand where their trigger points are or how they trigger you in a way that is unpleasant, just preserve yourself, right? That's key.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Mr. Yakubu.
I think for me, Miriam, it depends on the level of the co-workers.
Okay.
The perspective that she has come from is that a senior person, her being a junior person. It could be the other way. It could be you are the boss and the difficult person is a subordinate, or it could even be your peer. You get into a meeting, this is somebody who maybe there's a senior role, maybe you are both, say banking, for instance, you are both branch managers, and hopefully there's an area manager position that is likely to be vacant in 3 months, and the guy wants to be visible, and he or she's disagreeing with you at every point in time. So I think all depends on the roles. So I think for me, the first thing is you try to understand where that person is coming from. Do your introspection. Where is this person coming from? So you'll be prepared, for that kind of person, whatever the person is, either your subordinate or your colleague. Then you do the right thing all the times if you can. What do I mean by the right thing? If you are in a team that has targets, that has deliverables, ensure you achieve those deliverables so that you are not seeing negative. So that person, that your boss, does not see you as somebody who is a laggard on drawing him or her back.
Yeah.
That way, the disagreement or whatever will now be for very flimsy reasons and not the work. So if you are doing well, if you are ensuring that you meet your targets, if it is target, or if you are doing your tasks and all of that, that is number 2. Number 3, ensure, okay, don't fight, don't be negative about it, don't if the person is negative, you try to also be nice, be civil and all of that. And then for me, if the person still continues after you do all of these things, confront. Confronting means, Madam or Mr. or Madam, what's the issue? Why are you doing this? I feel this way, just like Nora had mentioned earlier, and then say it the way it is, confront, and then try to resolve it. If it doesn't get resolved, after that, the person still continues, then you now go official, either the policies, either HR, you escalate to senior bosses, or you use other subterranean user or other ways, to try to resolve. But don't allow it to weigh down. Don't allow it to make you run away. I would ordinarily not just want to run away, because how many times will you run?
Yeah.
So if it's a place that you like, if it's an environment that you would like to be, you said about confront. To some extent, limit your interactions with such people. When I say limit, I mean, if you have to be in a meeting with them, be there. If you have to take a file there or a document there, yeah, Richard, if you have to speak to the person for whatever, you go there and do. But if you focus on all of these, I think that helps. Then one thing I try to do is also to see how I can leverage on that person and take out the positives, from them. When everybody has his or her positives and negatives. So just see how you can get out the positives and minimize the negativities as much as possible. I think all of these, if you do it this way, it helps you, but don't run away, confront the issue, confront the person, but always try to do the right things.
Yeah.
Meet your target, if it's an assignment given to you, so the person does not. And then again, if you're the supervisor or even if you're the subordinate, try and document some of these examples. When I say document, make sure, because if the issue gets escalated, you have to have some real basis to justify your complaint, in quote, why a superior or another authority will say, yes, you have. So ensure you find a way to document all those examples where this person has done you wrong. I think if you do all of this, it helps you to work with these disagreeable colleagues or bosses as the case may be. Thank you.
Thank you. Sister Nora, did you want to add something, or were you just
Yes.
not in agreement?
I was nodding, and yes, honestly. So all of these points, honestly, I'm just trying to be conscious of time. But one thing I wanted to add really was show compassion. So sometimes somebody comes off in a certain way, and you know how in Islam they say make 70 excuses for your brother, such that if he pours water on you, say, oh gosh, there was a reason why he poured water on you. So when people do come off as standoffish or they're impolite or whatever the case may be, honestly, if you come from a place of compassion, it really changes your perspective, because you are looking at it and you're thinking, gosh, I wonder what this person is going through for them to want to treat me in that way, right? So as opposed to being defensive and think, this person just doesn't like me, oh gosh, he's so mean, he's so this, come from a place of, and I'll say, because let me share quickly, a colleague of mine, I'd always seen her standoffish. She had this almost hoity-toity, presence about herself. She always had her head held up. And I just thought, oh gosh, and I kept trying, so I kept thinking, it must be me, that's how she is, we're all different. Why can't she be hoity-toity if she wants to be? And I, kept trying to be nice. And I remember one particular day, she was with her kids. We have a clinic in my office, so you would constantly see people, taking their kids in and out of the clinic and whatnot. And I was quite nice to them. I thought, oh, hi, Dilys's kids, hello, how are you doing? And I noticed that she still didn't, receive that warmly. And I thought, wow, what kind of human being is this? Is this person? And why cannot she not be nice? And I went away thinking, this one, I can't help it, man. Nobody can even give me any excuses anymore. She's just not nice. Yeah. And so just a week ago, right? So she shared at a forum that we were both members at. And I found out that 3 of her 3 children were special needs children. 3 of her 3 children were special needs children. And she shared at that session, very independently of anything I had said, that anytime she's in public with her children, that she focuses on them because she's trying to identify triggers, right, of sensory overload for them, right, to be able to avert any type of crisis that is coming. And all of my time, I was only thinking about myself, and she's not nice to me. And, but this woman had a real problem that she had her hands and her neck and her body deep in, right, of having 3 children that had special needs. And that was her life outside of work, right? That was everything that she was. And she was still trying to be present in the office setting. And she was still trying to do her best. So sometimes when we come from a place of, so of course, immediately I thought, look at how I had perceived this person. But if you come from a place of compassion, many times, it is the more Muslim way, right, to deal with somebody or to deal with a perspective that you see that looks unfriendly or, just looks like it is not favoring you, coming from a place of, I wonder what this person is going through, I wonder what life is dealing, or, I wonder how they're responding to what life is throwing at them at this very moment. Honestly, it really just absolves you of a lot of negative thoughts and, all of that. It really just, it makes a difference.
Thank you for that, for sharing that. The next question, which I think you've both touched on, but I will ask anyway in case you wanted to add anything. How would you advise that you handle office bullies and troublemakers in a manner that doesn't jeopardize our work and well-being? I think you've both touched on this, but if there was anything either of you wanted to add, please do so. If not, I'll just go to the next question.
Okay, let me come in here. I think what I'll say to that is nearly all the approaches, that where I mentioned earlier will help there. Bullies are most times bosses, most times. It could also be the other way around. You could also have a coordinator who is a bully, depending on his size or her size, and on your own size as well. But bullies are most times bosses. First thing, do things right. Most, if not all the times. Meet your deliverables, meet your objectives. So that if such person is bullying you, it will be for other reasons. And I will give, a personal example here. In my early days, I used to head a branch of a bank, and then my boss then, will always talk to you anyhow. My friend, go and get my money, go and bring my money, go and do this, go and, I said, God, what kind of boss is this? I tried all I could to work with my team members, to ensure that we met our targets and all of that. And then it continued. But the more we meet and exceed targets, the lower, the lesser the bullying is. So because he or she is forced to like you, he or she is forced now to tolerate you and to relate with you. So make sure you do what you need. So I had that instance. So the way I got around it is to be nice to him. I don't fight him. I avoid him, but I also reach out to him, all the times if I have any issue. And I'm not scared. But I make sure I make all my targets. I also had this boss, for example. I worked so hard with my team members again, and I thought I deserved a promotion. So the promotions list came out then, and I didn't see my name. And I called and said, boss, I just saw the list now, and I think there's a mistake somewhere. My name is not there. And the person spoke to me on the phone, and I said, is that why you're calling me? You're calling me to well, I should get back to work. I'm just putting it in a very nice way. I can't tell you exactly the words that he used. Let me tell you, immediately after that discussion, I locked my office and I cried. I had to, I took it in. But I just braced up and I said, what do? I couldn't go to my colleagues, to show that face. And we continued. 6 months down the road, this boss called me and said, Idris, where are you? I said, I'm in my office or wherever. See me by 7 o'clock at home. It was my promotions later. And then he now reminded me of the other day. I spoke to you the other way. I said, well, I just did it so you can continue to do what you're doing and all of that. You're one of my best guys. But, but I got my promotion 6 months later. It didn't, but the point I'm making is that just make sure that you do things right so that the bullying, but if there are other reasons to bully, then you have to find a way around, to talk to the person again. Why are you doing this to me? Confront, identify them, identify the issues, try to find out why exactly they are doing that, confront them, discuss with them. And if they don't respond or if they don't stop, then you now have to find a way to escalate. If it's in the office, use the HR policies, go to your supervisors, and then get it resolved. But don't run away from that place and don't picking out, whatever be the case.
So you suggest confronting the person directly rather than going to HR first?
Yes, confront first. First.
Why is that the advice you're giving?
You see, when you confront, you get to know the main reason. You see, most times those who do these things, they are even scared of you as well. You probably don't know. Maybe at times the bullying or what they do to you is their own way of either shielding some deficiencies they have or expressing some frustration that you might not know. Like Nora mentioned, her boss had some issues. Everybody has one issue or the other. So you really do not know. Many times, if you do confrontation, do it nicely. Don't confront, oh, my friend, why are you doing this to me now? Why? You don't go and start boxing. But come to the boss, madam, I notice you do this. I've tried to do this and that to ensure, and I still see you do this. Is there any reason why you are still doing this to me? What can I do to stop it? Make it look like you are seeking for the person's as if you are him or her. What can I do to change your perspective? If it's a sincere person who is bullying because of whatever, I'm sure the person will tell you what to do. And if it's something different, of course, you also get to know as well. But confronting is always best. It is only when you don't get the desired results or the desired actions that you can now say, okay, I escalate. Because most times if you escalate, what HR will probably do is to also make you do what you should have ordinarily done.
Go and talk to the person,
Exactly.
Thank you. I think Sister Nora dropped off, so I'm going to use this opportunity to ask you a question, Mr. Yakubu, that was directed at you. And it was something I was thinking when you were both speaking. So this person has phrased it as, what is the thin gap between networking and corruption? And I would like to add that what is the difference between benefiting from networking and nepotism? Because I feel like sometimes the lines can be easily blurred. So the person gave an example, for instance, from your experience in getting a job, what if there is someone better than you professionally and in qualifications that is more fit for the role? And due to the fact that you know someone, you were awarded that position. Is that also a benefit of networking or having connections? I think the person.
Okay. Let me put it this way. First of all, let me use. I'll use my own thoughts, my own philosophy, and my own perspectives. Before you look for anything, be sure that you are qualified for that position. Don't just apply for a position because your friend is, or your boss is, or your network is holding a particular position. That helps. What do I mean by that? You're applying for the role of a CFO. I mean, and you don't have, and it's an organization that requires maybe a ACA or one qualification, you need to have a degree in accounting. Don't say because you've been there in the accounting field all year, so you necessarily have to get that job. So be prepared for that position. What that does is that puts you in a very good stead, to compete for that. And what your network does to you is to make sure that you are available to be considered. So I think that is the difference. Those who practice nepotistic tendencies, most times these people are not qualified. They are a lot less qualified, and they are only there because of those considerations that we're talking about, either tribe, family, one thing or the other.
Yeah.
So I mean, in the example I gave earlier, I mean, yes, because we're starting, I didn't want to go all the, I shortened it, I said fast forward.
Yes.
Yes, I was a general manager in the bank. As a GM of say 2, 3, 4 years, your next expectation is to move to the board. But board appointments, EDs, and all of that are not your professional competencies. Mm-hmm. You have achieved professionalism ends at general manager level most times. Most times, board is first vacancy. 2, depends on the gap or the person that is being filled. Number 3, depends on the interest of the people that want you in that particular or that are putting that need to fill that vacancy, and it depends on what you're going to do there. So at that point, most times you will have been screened professionally and you are okay. And then what that requires is the other considerations. And in this case, it went through KPMG. KPMG actually did the hiring. In fact, both jobs, maybe to be modest, both jobs, both my ED in Skybank then and the MD of NACO was handled by KPMG. So it was, and this a well-rated institution. And there are so many people, 10, 20 people, and then you now get the position. So what you're being prepared does for you is it throws you up. Mm-hmm. It throws you up and you're available, and then you're not considered amongst other equally qualified people. So at the end of the day, it's just like when you are selecting the vice chancellor of your university. Most times what they do is to select 3 people, the top 3, and then you now send it to the visitor, that's the president, to select or to approve. All these 3 people are eminently qualified. And then the president or whoever is in charge, the visitor, now decides on whatever reason he or she will pick any of the 3. You could, in fact, most times at times they could even pick the number 3, and you say, why did they pick that? So there are a lot of considerations. So I think to answer that question straight, there's a thin line, but for me, I would advise members of MICA and all of us, first be prepared, be ready for that role, have enough qualifications, train yourself well, and then have a lot of experience so that when you are now being considered, what your network does to you is to position you appropriately. And then when there's a need for a choice, inshallah, you'll now be possibly the one that will be chosen amongst the very best that are available at that time.
Thank you for the clarification. So Sister Nora is back. Zainab, could you make her a co-host, please? Because she's not currently a co-host. And then maybe she'll be able to unmute herself. Or unmute. Okay, cool.
Thank you.
Yes.
Apologies. Yes, I jumped off. No, I think honestly, he's really done a fantastic encapsulation of what an ideal answer to that question would be. And I think he is definitely in a position to speak, to it. But I can add my voice in saying that sometimes when you are in a position to actually hire somebody, honestly, the more correct thing to do as a Muslim, if indeed there is somebody that is more qualified, then you will just have to accept it. And that friend of yours that is also going for the job will accept it. I remember growing up, my father is hardline. Anybody that knows my father knows that my father is a hardliner. And I know that I would hear, for example, he had a lot of friends that wanted to do business with government, and he was in government, but they never got to do business with government through my father because he was just clear about it. He knew the rules, and for him, it never affected the friendships because they grew to accept him for who he was. But it's the kind of, lifestyle that I've seen modeled before me. And it's what I hope that inshallah, my own principles will grow to become like. But really, in terms of nepotism, really, it's really for us to default. The really most important thing for us to do as Muslims is to prepare ourselves for opportunity. And Malam Yakubu has said it best.
Thank you both. Sister Laura, please stay unmuted. I want to ask you this question. So it was a question from Yahya, and he said, the person says, I would like the host to tell us much more about the disadvantages of the subject, as we have really spoken about the benefits. I think you alluded to something when you were speaking. So if you start off your answer.
So when he talks about disadvantages, or when this person asks about disadvantages, do they want to know what the disadvantages of networking are, or do they want to know what the don'ts, of networking are? I'm a big
good point. Yahya, if you're still there, could you clarify? But in the meantime, I guess interpret it however you want. There's no knowledge that's lost. So yeah.
Okay. Yahya has his hand up, so maybe he wants to lend his voice.
Unfortunately, we don't let people unmute because it's very difficult to manage. So Yahya, I will not be unmuting you, but if you could just type your clarification in the chat box. So maybe we'll come back to that question then. So Yahya, please clarify your questions and we'll come back to that. The next question then is, what are the red flags or warning signs to note in networking?
Fantastic. So I think that was the kind of question that Yahya was maybe even trying to get to.
Yeah.
So, what are the don'ts, right? There's lots of don'ts, right? The first thing that I'll say, the most fundamental one, is do not be afraid. Don't be afraid to network, right? Or introduce yourself, because just like Malam Yakubu has said, the main thing is once you are confident in your abilities, right, and in your person, and you've made yourself, marketable, then the next thing is to market, right? So when you have a good product, you sell it. And if you are a good product, you sell yourself, right? So don't also be shy of the fact that you are a work in progress. There's nobody, I promise you, even a president, right? Even when you've had 3 runs as a president, you don't have, you don't go in there thinking, yes, I'm the boss, and I'm going to, ace this president game. You go in there knowing that, yes, there's a lot to learn, but that you are capable, right? That's the first thing that you tell yourself. So do not be afraid to network, and do not choose to hide a portion of yourself. I think this is particularly relevant for the audience that I'm speaking to today. So for example, like I said, we as individuals have different interests. I myself, like I said, I love to do charity. I love to immerse myself in charitable activities. I love to do anything related to, education, maybe because I saw my mother doing it. But then, I might have other interests, like Malam Yakubu can like golf, for example. There's nothing wrong with him being in some sort of golf committee. But the most important thing for me is that being Muslim, right, sometimes we see that as a means to separating that aspect of our life, from our professional lives, right? Because we think, this is the only side I can show to them, right? So many times, and coming from, my place as a woman, you are obviously Muslim, right? That's if you choose to be, right? And there's nothing wrong with you choosing not to be. But if you choose to be obviously Muslim, that's the first thing you have even thrown out there, that I'm obviously Muslim. Now, for you to now say that, in the office, don't talk about Salah. I'm not saying, go and gather somewhere and say, we want to do a small Usra circle. But I'm saying that, do not feel shy to bring out that aspect of yourself, right? Because look at it, right? One Muslim said it in my workplace. The truth is, most of the tenets that your office is trying to get you to build as an employee, wallahi, hardly will you ever see those that do not align with what Islam is teaching you naturally, right? They want you to be principled. They want you to observe good ethics and comply. I mean, I'm talking about if you are lucky enough to work with people that are credible and ethical in everything that they do. But most time, I've been lucky to work in a company that is extremely ethical, that says, speak the truth, avoid conflict of interest, do this and do that. And I'm like, this is easy because, guess what? I'm Muslim, right? So, and I don't hide that side of myself away from, how well it helps me to do my job or to appear to the person beside me. I'm obviously Muslim. I tell them, I'm making time for Salah. I'll see you in 15 minutes. I'm not scared, right, to own that space. And what you are doing in this very critical juncture that we are in as Muslims is that you are creating and enlarging a platform that other people can come and stand on, right? So if you yourself are a credible and fantastic Muslim that everybody wants to associate with, then they're going to give more grace, right, to another Muslim that comes up right, and says, I see an opportunity here, right? Because you've been able to demystify what being Muslim is about, right? And you've created more room so that somebody else can come up the ladder. So do not be afraid to, to be present in all the different dimensions of your life, right, that you belong to, right? Do not be insincere. I think I've said this enough, right? Do not network only for your personal gain. Give back more than you are receiving. And you will find that at the end of the day, you can't even determine where you're giving and where you're receiving, because it becomes a blur to you, because all you're focusing on is, how can I help people? How can I truly show care? Do not be inappropriate, please. I've seen many instances of, especially younger people, and honestly, I don't blame them. I think it's mostly from a place of what you know, and that's why it's important for you to be in these sorts of sessions. Do not use jargon, do not use slang, do not venture into inappropriate topics. Do not try and gossip with people just to be closer to them. Just like I said, being properly Muslim really helps you in these things. Do not try and make snide remarks, because that's how to make friends. For example, I used to work on, I would go out on the field onto rigs, right? And men think it's really fun, to drop one's, very chauvinistic joke or something, and I'm just like, what is going on here? This is not a joke, So don't do those kinds of things because you are trying to catch people's attention and you're trying to network and become a close bond with somebody. Please do not do it. Honestly, try and stay, as polite, as professional. Do not start your networking relationship with a request. I beg you in the name of Allah. I've seen people, Madam, good morning, my son is in need of a job, or I'm in need of a job. I studied accounting, and I did this. And I won't lie to you. I'm sure that Idris Yakubu has a lot more experience in that space than I do. But those relationships don't ever kick off. It will never happen, right? If you think that the best way for you to approach a potential, person that you want to put into your network is to go straight to him and say, look, I need you for something. It's very different when you do it differently. And I know that there are different circumstances that might make it allowable. But honestly, just keep it as a rule, right? That I will not start this relationship in this way. And it will most likely benefit you more than you would think. Do not prepare, right? So we've talked about preparation in terms of making yourself, readily available for opportunity. But even when you are stepping into a room, if you're going to a conference and you know that it can be a fashion conference, please, right, understand what the world is talking about, in fashion, for that time. Be ready with topics, be relatable in terms of what is actually bringing you into that space, right? Those things are really important. Everything from your diction to your appearance, how they say, dress the way you choose, you want to be addressed. How they say, dress the part of where you want to go, right? So if you know that I want to become a professional, dress like a professional, my brother. Don't take anything for granted, from your breath to your shoes. Please do not take it for granted. Those things are really important in forging the right type of connections and making the right types of relationships that people are actually curious about you. Set yourself apart so that they say, oh, who's that lady, in the turban, or, that has covered herself in this way, that, it's many different aspects. And I'm sure my co-panelists will speak to it, but there's so many different aspects to presenting yourself and the don'ts of networking that I could go on and on. But please, guys, just put your best foot forward always.
Thank you so much for that. Jazakallah khair. Mr. Yakubu, what's your take on the do's and don'ts of networking?
I think Nora has mentioned several of the do's and don'ts, and I don't want to repeat them. What I'll try to do is to just emphasize one or two, and then give my own perspective as well. Okay. I think one thing we should realize is that first, you never have a second opportunity of making an impression. You get into a group, you get into a community, you get into an environment, the way, all the things that she mentioned in the last 1-2 minutes, the way you look, the way you speak, the way you comport yourself, all those things, are very important, because as you get in there and you make your first pitch or your first movement or your first, whatever you do, that is the way you are likely to be seen and assessed by your other compatriots in that network that you find yourself. So be prepared. That's why I mentioned the first thing I said earlier in the day was you be prepared. Preparation is so many things. If you are getting to a network or a group, what is your objective? So you should be ready, to live by the rules. You should be ready to comport yourself well. You should be ready, be ready to either to lead or be part of whatever is happening there. You should have your expectations, but you also should be more ready, to be the one to give, to be on the giving side. So that when you don't get those things that you expect, you won't get very disappointed or unhappy, and you begin to say, okay, why did I even get there in the first instance? So I think that is, for me, the first. Number two, you should also set some boundaries. When I say boundaries, I mean, you need to have limits. I should give an example of, not somebody just going to start with asking for a job. Unfortunately, today, in the environment that we are, that is what is trending. Most people get into groups or get into communities, or try to network for definitely for value, for benefits. It could be jobs, it could be money. If somebody meets you today, he's joining a club, he starts. So you who is on the receiving end, you just be careful. Yes, you can give, you give. But also, know your limits, know your bounds. Because most times they will continue to come back and they find a way to send information all around, and then you just have to find a way to manage how you get around it. So if depending on which side you are, never be the one. Don't make yourself a nuisance. Yeah. That is one of the don'ts. Now, don't make yourself a nuisance in that community, in that group. Be ready to give. Be ready to give value. When you give value, everybody wants to associate with you. Everybody wants to relate with you. Everybody wants you to be part of whatever they are doing. Those are very, very, very critical elements. Even if you share, if you give, you need to be confident. You need to, yes, why not just going to say, oh, my name is this, but you also be ready that when you meet, other persons, you don't just chicken out. Don't say, oh, you're a shy type. Because if you are not there, if you're not available, most times, some things which are your desires for being in that network or in that group, just pass you by because you couldn't express yourself well. So I think those, for me, are some of the don'ts. Don't, and I mentioned something much earlier, never be opinionated. Have an open mind when you are in a group. She has given different examples, especially on the religion side. It could be other reasons, it could be anything. I'm in a group somewhere where, let me just give this personal example. People were condemning Big Brother. Big Brother, the show that just ended some weeks back. And I could see the perspectives and all that. Yes, I'm not in support of the philosophy behind Big Brother and all of that. But for those who set it up, they also probably have their own, whether you like it or not, it also created some little employment, it generated some revenue to government and all of that. So, mine is to say, what can we now do? If I'm the one, what do we do to make that organization, for instance, that program, more Islam? What can we do to take out? Of course, it takes away the value that some people see, but that will probably be my approach. If I'm in a group and people are going this way, I'll try to see how we can bring them back so that we can achieve the particular cause. So don't just say, no, everybody is bad or everything they're saying is bad. When you do that, you put yourself on the minority, and at times you might never get a say. So I think that this, for me, are some of the don'ts. Don't push your own thoughts. Don't say, oh, it's my way or nothing. Don't be selfish. Yeah. Think of serving, think of giving. If you do it that way, most times you benefit from the group, and then you also achieve your personal expectations of being there as well.
Thank you. Thank you so much to both of you. Unfortunately, we can't even take any more questions because we've come to time. May Allah bless you both and continue to elevate you in your respective positions. Thank you, and bless your families, of course. Thank you so much for giving up your time. We really appreciate you honoring the invite. Something we always do here at MICA is we always get one of the panelists to make dua. So which one of you wants to volunteer yourselves to make dua for us? Or you can both do it. Prayer can never be too much. I always say that. Like, you can. Right. Okay, Bismillah.
Okay, let's pray. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahi rabbil alamin. الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين. Oh Allah, we thank you for this session. We thank you for the opportunity, to interact. We thank you for the opportunity to learn from ourselves. We pray that what we have discussed today, should be of benefit to all of us, inshallah. We pray that our organization, MICA, continues to be relevant and impactful. We pray for ourselves, we pray for our families, we pray for our country, Nigeria. We pray that, oh Allah, that you resolve all the issues that we have around us, economically, politically, socially, the problems that we have. Oh Allah, please bring us solutions to them. We pray for prosperity in our lives. We pray for good. We pray that you answer our prayers that are beyond our expectations. And we pray that at the end of the day, when we die as Muslims and go to Jannatul Firdaus. ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار. ربنا لا تزغ قلوبنا بعد إذ هديتنا وهب لنا من لدنك رحمة إنك أنت الوهاب. سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون وسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين. Amen. Thank you.
I mean, thank you so much.
It's been an honor. Thank you. Thank you so much, Mariam, and to everyone that has been working in the background. Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much. If you both want to stay, we're actually going to do a poll now to ask how the session has benefited everyone. So if you both want to stay to see the results, that might be nice. So Zainab, we're ready for your poll. So please don't leave yet, everyone. We're going to have a poll. We want you to tell us how you've benefited from today so we can continue to deliver. Thank you. All right, Zainab, please do your thing. So she'll share a link in the chat box and a code, I think that you have to enter, and then you can write some comments pertaining to how you thought the event went. So yeah, it's a link that's www.menti. So if you see that link, please click into it. And she's just shared the code. So the code is 50552028. 50552028. So Zainab, can you share your screen, please? So we can see what people are saying. "52 participants. Come on, guys, please. Let us know how you found the session. The more interactive we are, the more enjoyable it is. Please don't make me beg."
I did it last.
What did you say, Mr. Yakubu?
No. Somebody is participating. She's trying to find a way to get into the...
Okay, that's good. Thank you. Insightful, alhamdulillah. That's good. So all of you that are putting your comments in the chat box, Jazakallah khair, but please also use Menti to say how you feel. So some of the comments, Jazakallah khair, great choice in panelists and very beneficial session. May Allah reward all those involved. Ameen. Assalamu alaikum. Thanks a lot, Micah, for this. May Allah bless our speakers. Very insightful, very beneficial, insightful. That's leveraging and encouraging to continue my personal build-up. Jazakumullah khairan. Ameen. Nice. Keep it coming. Thank you. Let's just wait a couple more minutes. Oh, everyone keeps saying insightful. That's very good, mashallah. Yeah, I agree. It was very insightful. I really like the personal experiences as well. Guiding us through, and the do's and don'ts, quite important and fantastic. Love both speakers. The examples were very relatable. I agree. The session was very beneficial and a boost to personal improvement, mashallah. Very thoughtful of the organizers, have gained a lot. Looking forward to more of this, mashallah, and jazakallah khair. I mean, very insightful. Nice. Thank you so much, everyone. Alhamdulillah. Thank you to both our speakers. We couldn't have done this without you as well. Insightful, alhamdulillah. Oh, Zainab, why is it cut off? Can you scroll up? I can't see the comments below. Okay, thank you. Fantastic panelists. Thanks for taking time out for your schedule to assist others. Very helpful. The session has been insightful. Wow. Alhamdulillah. Good. Thank you everyone for partaking. Please, is this an event? So we have events like this every Sunday at 11 a.m. West Africa time. The topic varies from week to week, but we try and make sure that you're either gaining from the topics professionally and spiritually, or both. So just make sure you're following us on our social media pages, Instagram, Micah Nigeria, and you'll see information about events that are coming up. So thank you, everyone. I think we'll close now. Thank you again, Mr. Yakubu and Sister Nora, if you're still there. May Allah bless you. Thank you very much. All right. Oh yeah, we're also on Clubhouse if you utilize that app every Saturday at 5 p.m. West African time, where we discuss different topics. So please join us on Saturdays at 5 on Clubhouse and on Sundays at 11 a.m. on Zoom and YouTube. Okay, Assalamu alaikum everyone. Thank you so much. I think we can end the event now. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Yeah.
Quadri, do your thing.